Okay, prop bets. Let's talk about them. Let's start with MVP here. So a couple interesting things about MVP. The first is it's been quarterback by and large almost always, right? 7 of the last 9 have been quarterbacks. The only other,
which means what Todd Gurley's doing is so much more impressive in today's NFL.
Is he okay? I just want to know, is he okay? Yeah, he's okay. He had a horrible game. He dropped 2 passes. He blew 2 pass protection snaps. He was awful. People did not watch the game. Did they not watch the game? I don't get it. Why did Todd Gurley not play? Because he was awful.
Yeah.
That's why he didn't play, you stupid people. All right. Anyways, the MVP obviously.
Tell me how you really feel.
I hate stupid people. You ever heard the George Carlin rant about stupid people?
No, but I'm...
All right. If you're listening to this, take a break and go type in George Carlin's stupid people. It's hilarious. His idea for how to identify them is really top notch. All right. Brady is minus 120. Goff is plus 240. They're the overwhelming favorites, and rightfully so, because the math obviously backs this up. The most important component to winning football games is offense, and more specifically the quarterback. And so if one of these teams wins, very good chance the reason is that it's the quarterback. To me, both of these are really just another way of betting the money line for either team.
Yeah, except for you get so much more value going with Goff.
Yes, I agree.
But you're right. I mean, because the percentage of time, essentially, it's some like, so if you look back historically, as you said, it's been quarterback 7 of the last 9 years. Even prior to that, you were getting some wide receivers in the mix, but you're really looking at some random thing like Malcolm Smith, you know, in a game where Seattle totally dominates Denver. The blame is, or the credit is equally distributed, and they just picked a guy who had the most fantastic play or whatever. Mm-hmm. Von Miller, another game where, you know, he just goes out of his mind, right? And, you know, so then the question comes up, you know, well, you know, could it be another player? And we'll talk about that in a second. But Goff at plus 240 is essentially a 30% proposition. You're saying 30% of the time he would win it. And I think if you handicap the Rams at something like 40%, 45% to win outright, then that has value, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I've seen him at plus 250 in a couple of places. Ironically, I'm on OddsShark right now. Todd Gurley's the 3rd at plus 1,000.
Don't do it.
Whatever you
I mean, but here's the thing.
Sony Michel and CJ Anderson. The thing is, though, that people are stupid.
Right, exactly. There is some psychology. It's not just math.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say, the Patriots win, and it's not Tom Brady. Who do you like?
So it's a tough one because, like, so obviously, you know, if James White couldn't have won the MVP in the Atlanta Super Bowl, right, because Brady's the one delivering him the ball, they're going to go to the quarterback. I do think it's somebody random like Trey Flowers or one of the members of the secondary. It's Sony Michel. Like if Sony Michel scores 3 touchdowns from the 1-yard line, they might, as you said, just be, just like, hey, let's go. And in some places, Michel I think is 3rd, but in front of Gurley. It's tough though, right? Because if you have the Patriots handicapped at 60% to win the game, 55%. You're talking about 90% of the time that the Patriots win, Brady gets the MVP. That seems about right.
Mm-hmm. If the Patriots win and Brady's not the MVP, it means that it was a defensive, victory in the minds of many. In other words, they took advantage of Jared Goff in some way or another, right? Goff has shown a propensity to give some turnover-worthy play options up there. A guy like Devin McCourty, who's plus 25,000, gets a pick 6. Like those are the defensive players who have made up the other 2 MVPs of the last 9 have been, Von Miller and was it Malcolm Smith or whatever his name was? Yeah. So, made huge game-changing defensive plays. Devin McCourty. Trey Flowers is plus 12,500. So, yeah, both of those I like.
You also have to add some surprise to it. So if you remember the Patriots Super Bowl with Seattle, the guy that would have won the MVP at Seattle won was that Chris Matthews guy who came out of nowhere.
Right.
That's why for the Rams side, I kind of like Josh Reynolds at plus 10,000 because, as we talked about earlier, Patriots want to take away the best thing the other team does. Cooks, Woods might be taken away. The third option is either one of those 2 tight ends or Josh Reynolds, who made some big plays against the Saints. I think the surprise factor might yield people to vote for him.
It is so hot in here.
It is bad, and just kind of lastly, Aaron Donald's a bad bet, right?
Yes, that's not lastly. I have my Rams sleeper.
Okay.
Here. Yes, Aaron Donald is plus 1,800, and the tough thing is that, as you talked about, they're going to take Aaron Donald away. He would have to have an amazing game, and that's probably unlikely. If the Rams win and it's not Jared Goff, you got to figure they make a big play against Brady. Marcus Peters is going to gamble 1,000 times in this game, and if he hits on one of them, he's as good a bet to make a house call as anybody. I think he's plus 12,500. He would be the Ram that, it's just so hard to pick another offensive player because by and large the quarterback's going to get the credit for that. All right, some other props that we like. James White, Rex Burkhead, Sony Michel.
So
who of these do you like most?
I like this because it's the, how is Belichick going to distribute plays? And Burkhead was the one in the AFC title game that if you bet all of his overs, it was a good get. I think do they push back on that in this particular setting and go more towards White? I don't think Michel is going to have a ton of success in this game. I think the Patriots are going to say, we zigged the first 2 games of the playoffs with Michel. We're going to zag here and go more of a passing game. So you have to look at, Burkhead over under 2 receptions, overs minus 135. White at 6 is minus 150. I think better value there is obviously Burkhead at 2. 17.5 receiving yards for Burkhead, minus 125. James White, if you want to bet on him, 52.5 receiving yards, minus 115. I kind of like the Burkhead-White combination more than I like the Michel combination. Even though the Rams have been one of the worst run defenses in the league this year, I think that the last 2 weeks for Belichick were a setup to do more of a wide-open offense in this game.
Yes, and this is why Sony Michel, 5.5 receiving yards, is an absolute steal.
Under.
Over. They are going to come out with Sony Michel, and they're going to throw him the ball. And that's it. 5.5 yards is not much. They'll run 1 screen to Sony Michel. He will pick up over 5 yards. You're welcome.
Under 1 catch is minus 140. You see where people are on that one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they've run with him the entire time. Yeah. This is what Belichick does. He's going to throw them for a loop. Michel can catch the ball. He's going to have over 5.5 receiving yards. Okay. I also think the James White one is a stone cold
The same
lock.
over-under bet exists for C.J. Anderson. 0.5 receptions, 5.5 receiving yards. I like the unders in those.
Yes. I am less wary of C.J. Anderson, a guy that just showed up a few weeks ago, being involved in some sort of creative play there. But I think both of those are good. Todd Gurley, 65.5 rushing yards, 35.5 receiving yards. The unders juiced on both of those, so it looks like people have been listening to the podcast. Your boy Josh Reynolds, 3.5 receptions.
And it looks pretty square here. Minus 115 on both sides, 44.5 receiving yards, minus 120 to the over, minus 110 to the under. I think there's 2 scenarios here where Josh Reynolds does well. They get behind and they need to throw, or they trick the Patriots and they need to throw to him. Yep. And so I like the overs for both of him. One of the last ones I kind of like, 3.5 total sacks. Overs juice at minus 145, under plus 110. I like the under here. I think both teams will take care of the quarterback. Patriots, not a great pass rush to begin with. Rams, a good pass rush, but the Patriots have been magical in terms of avoiding sacks. So 3.5 there, I would go under.
All right, the last prop that I like are the touchdown props. So I think Brady rushing touchdown, either as to have one in general or as the first touchdown, is fantastic. The odds were ridiculous. I can't remember exactly what they were, but we talked about this last week. And then a James Devlin touchdown. Feel it.